Good morning, and for fathers in particular, it's Happy Father's Day. I hope you have a great day with your children. I'm going to see my after church. I'm going to see my some of my children and some of my not great. I don't have any great grandchildren. I will see my grandchildren. So I hope you have a blessed day. So, but everyone, I hope everyone has a blessed day today. But today I want to share you something before I go to church, and it's on continuing on Psalm 23, and today we're looking at verse 3, which says, "He guides us along the right path for His name's sake." Let me repeat that for you, so you can it can enter into your mind and sink there and stay there, and you can reflect on it. He guides us along the right path for His name's sake. The first thing that we notice here is that God guides us along the right paths. The Old Testament Hebrew word that we translate as right is tzedek, which also signifies justice and righteousness. Thus, we observe that God leads us along the path of justice and righteousness because He embodies justice and righteousness. King David wrote in Psalm 11, "For the Lord is righteous. He loves justice. The upright will see His face." The Lord is righteous. He loves justice. The upright will see His face. So given God's nature, He will guide us along these same paths so that we become righteous and lovers of justice. If we reflect on the Bible, we observe a profound contrast. In Genesis 6, we read the following, and this is a mouthful. I stumble over it all the time, so forgive me if I get this wrong. In Genesis 6, we read, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of all human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time." Well, I got that right. That's great, isn't it? But then just a few verses later, we read that Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people, and he walked faithfully with God. We know what occurred next. God unleashed the flood, and only Noah and his family were spared. Everyone else perished. Later on in the New Testament, we see the Apostle Paul wrote in the Bible, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." You see, God desires all of us to be righteous and sinless, and His justice demands that we pay a price for our sinful behavior. Our transgressions have consequences, and God's judgment demands a penalty payment. The Old Testament is filled with laws outlining the sacrifices the Jews had to make due to their sinfulness. And this is where Jesus Christ enters the picture. Before the world was created, let me repeat that statement. Before the world was even created, God the Father and Jesus Christ, the Son of God, agreed that Jesus would come to earth and pay the price for all humanity. He made a once for all payment by dying on the cross to fulfill the demands of God's justice. Since Jesus bore the cost of our sinful behavior, we do not need to pay a penalty for our sins. Isn't that fantastic? Since Jesus has paid the penalty, we do not need to pay a penalty. However, there's even more than this. When Jesus came to earth, he brought a fresh perspective of God's demand for justice. James beautifully highlighted this when he stated, "Mercy triumphs over judgment." Mercy triumphs over judgment. God has shown us a great mercy by not insisting that we pay the penalty for our sins. And consequently, this is how we ought to treat our friends and neighbours. We must be merciful towards them when they wrong us, and we must forgive them just as Jesus forgives us when we wrong others. It's worth noting one thing, that he guides us along the right path for his name's sake, rather than for our benefit. You see, looking back in Psalm 23, we observe that God describes himself as a shepherd, and of course Jesus describes himself as the good shepherd. Previously, we have considered that God desires a daily relationship with us. He wants to guide us, indicating where we must go to find rest, providing us with protection and nourishing us, and all that is for our benefit. But here in verse 3 is slightly different. We see that God is guiding us along the right path not for our sake, but for God's name's sake. He guides us along the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And so you see, God will lead us along a path of righteousness and justice so that he will receive the glory. And so today, as individuals cross our paths, they will witness our righteous actions. They will see us ensuring justice for others, and they will perceive God through us and give him the glory. Isn't that great? Individuals will cross our paths and witness our righteous actions. They will see us ensuring justice for others, and they will perceive God through us and give him the glory. Of course, this unfolds over time. When others inquire why we are assisting people in obtaining justice, we can explain that it's because we are Christians. When we conduct ourselves in a particular manner, we can attribute our righteous actions to the fact that we are Christians. Why do we hold food banks? Why do we hold food banks? My church has a food bank every Monday and Wednesday. We hold food banks because we are Christians and we want to see justice for others. And so we have a food bank on every Monday and Wednesday. People will see our actions and our behavior, and through us perceive God and give him the glory. And so let me finish by repeating Psalm 11, a verse of Psalm 11. For the Lord is righteous, he loves justice The upright will see his face. Thus, when we act justly and righteously, the upright will see God's face in us. God said, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Do you see that? You will let your light shine when you follow the path of justice and righteousness, and your good deeds will glorify God, and his name will be exalted. Okay, well, have a great day. Fathers, have a great Father's Day. God bless you, and goodbye.